What is good, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Wrestling with Fans podcast. This is a pro wrestling podcast created by fans for fans from fans' perspective. My name is Kyle. This is episode 234. It is the WWE Backlash review. Backlash took place last night as I'm recording. I'm recording this on Sunday, May the 7th. A Backlash took place last night, May 6th, from San Juan, Puerto Rico. Man, what a fun show that was. I was thoroughly sports entertained by Backlash last night. The wife and I just stayed at home, watched together. She even enjoyed the show a lot. So really excited to talk about Backlash on this week's episode. Got a few other news and notes to cover as well. And we're going to kick things off here in just a minute because we have the brackets for the World Heavyweight Championship Tournament. We have brackets for the World Heavyweight Championship Tournament. Well, sort of. We know who's going to be in it. But it was announced during the Backlash press conference before the show who the participants are going to be for this match. Now, this is a Raw. This is a Monday Night Raw title. However, both Raw and SmackDown competitors are going to be a part of this match. Why that is, I have no fucking idea. Pardon my French, but I got to get that out of the way pretty quick. Yeah, no idea why that it's going to be Raw and SmackDown. But what we know is on Raw this week, we're going to have two triple threat matches. The winners of those triple threat matches will face off later in the night. And the winner of that match will go on to Night of Champions. Then on this Friday, SmackDown, we're going to get another pair of triple threat matches with 6 SmackDown superstars, and those winners of those two triple threat matches will face off later in the night in SmackDown, and that winner will face the Raw winner at Night of Champions to crown a brand new World Heavyweight Champion. Now, this can go one of two ways. We're going to give the participants here in just a moment. I got to pull them up. I thought I had it saved, but I don't. What we know. Well, now this is what we know. What could happen? What could happen? Now, this could easily be, whoever makes it out of Raw, they're gonna win the title. Like, that's just a gimme. But if the SmackDown participant wins, my theory is that they would be sent to Raw. But once they lose the belt, they go back to SmackDown. Now, I don't know if they're going to do that with the women, since, Bianca was drafted to SmackDown, Rhea to Raw, but they're the opposite brands, respective champions. I talked about this last week, but I'm hoping we get a rebranding of the women's belts to like a WWE Women's Champion and a Women's World Champion. But we'll talk about that another time. But here's what we know. The 6 participants from the Monday Night Raw side: Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Damian Priest, The Miz, Shinsuke Nakamura, and the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. So those 6 men will be paired off into 2 triple threat matches on Raw. Then the winners of those matches will face off later in the night, and that winner will go on to Night of Champions. Now, just from the 6 that are there, My guess, we're gonna get Seth versus Cody in the main event match of Raw, and we'll see who ends up going out on that. Over on SmackDown, so this Friday on SmackDown. So if you're listening to the show or watching the video later in the week, this Friday SmackDown, we're gonna get United States Champion Austin Theory. So spoiler, he did retain at Backlash, but we'll talk about that here in a bit. The phenomenal AJ Styles, the almighty Bobby Lashley, Rey Mysterio, Edge, and Sheamus. So we're going to get one representative from Raw versus one representative of SmackDown. They're going to face off at Night of Champions in 3 weeks. Dirty Saudi Blood Money 6 or 7. I have to figure out what that is, but at Night of Champions. And we're going to crown a new world champion. So I don't know why they have a champion like Austin Theory in there. They could have went with one of many superstars from SmackDown, but they have, you know, U.S. champion Austin Theory. So I don't expect him to come out on top. He probably won't be involved in the pinfall in the triple threat match, but they're just adding him in there. But, you know, if they're going with the U.S. champ, why isn't Gunther? Why isn't your Intercontinental champion a representative for Raw? I don't know. But yeah, that's the 6. So we'll know more later this week after these matches take place. Speaking of later this week, I'm still working on a full draft breakdown. I'm sure by now you all know who's on what brand. But what I've started to do is kind of tier them out. Like look at like your main eventers, your upper mid card, and then kind of everybody else, and you know, kind of laying out the men's, women's, and then the tag team divisions. Just so we kind of get a lay of the land, you know, baby faces, heels. I'm going to rank the, you know, the top baby faces and heels from each brand, just to kind of see where everybody's at. That video will be out later this week. I had not had a chance to work on it this weekend. I had planned on having a lazy weekend and ended up doing a lot more than I had originally thought or wanted to, but, you know, that's how, welcome to adulting for those who know what I'm talking about. But that's what we know for the World Heavyweight Championship tournament. Now, in a little bit of a fun note, this came out Thursday. It was officially announced. Mosh and Thrasher, the Headbangers, have been offered a quote-unquote nostalgia contract with WWE. And now that it's been signed, they can share the news. So the Headbangers get a general nostalgia agreement. They posted a screenshot of it to their Instagram. So congrats to the Headbangers. I imagine this will be a deal to kind of include them in video games, merchandise, toys. Get some Mattel Elite Headbangers. That would be really cool to see. I'm really looking forward to what we could get from that. But yeah, congratulations to those guys out there. Back on Wednesday, we have the first quarter earnings call for WWE. Just going to read a couple quick highlights. Our revenue was $297.6 million. Operating income was $53.1 million. And the adjusted OIBDA, if you know what that means, I can't remember off the top of my head, was $84.2 million. They returned $8.9 million of capital to shareholders through dividend payments. Each WWE Premium Live event, Royal Rumble and Elimination Chamber, set domestic unique viewership records with year-over-year increases of 52 and 54% respectively, so they've been up year to year. Viewership for WWE's weekly flagship programs, Raw and SmackDown, both increased 7%, significantly outperforming overall cable and broadcast television, which declined 15 and 6% respectively. North American live ticket event sales revenue increased 52% over the prior year period, reflecting a 37% increase in average attendance. So business is good for WWE. Their stock, the last I had looked earlier this week, was at like $100 some a share. Let me pull it up. Let's see where they're at. WWE is sitting at 107 even. So they have had a nice big increase. I mean, a year ago, they were sitting at around, $50 a share? Let's see, we're in May. About $60 a share. Now they're up over $100 a share. So business is good for WWE. Business is good for WWE. Of course, they have the impending merger with UFC under Endeavor, which they will be spun off into their own separate company. Haven't had much news or anything to report in the way of that in a while, but I'm sure as the year goes on, we'll get a lot more of that stuff there. Before we talk about Backlash, let me just remind you guys about our wonderful social medias. Be back here in just a moment where we're going to talk all about WWE Backlash. Myself here for a quick moment. First off, thank you for checking out Wrestling with Fans here on YouTube. If you're enjoying what you see, make sure to leave a big old thumbs up and click that subscribe button down below. The other ways you can help support the show is to follow us across all of our other social medias. Check us out, facebook.com/Wrestling with Fans. Hulk smash that like button to keep up to date with everything going on here with Wrestling with Fans. Or you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Wrestling with Fans. Check us out on the web at WrestlingWithFans.com. New audio shows go up every single Sunday at midnight. Or you can take us on the go, download us to your favorite podcast, the listening device. You can get us wherever you get your podcast fix. Just search Wrestling with Fans Podcast. We are on all the major platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher. Wherever you get your podcast fix, you can find Wrestling with Fans. Last but certainly not least, comments, questions, feedback, topics you want covered on the show, shoot me an email, wwfshow@gmail.com. Again, that's wwfshow@gmail.com. Links to everything are down in the video description and down below, so make sure you check that out. Without further ado, back to the show. Coming back in here live in studio. And for those who are watching the video version, you can just tell that I recorded that commercial last year about 90 pounds ago. So I need to re-record that with a fresh look in, 90 pounds and a shave later. It's definitely not what I look like currently, but yeah, I'll re-record that at some point here. But yeah, let's get into Backlash. Let's get into WWE Backlash. Again, it was held last night, May the 6th, from the Coliseo de Puerto Rico Jose Miguel Agrelo, if I pronounced that right. If not, I apologize for butchering it. From San Juan, Puerto Rico. Total attendance of 17,944, a sellout. They also held SmackDown there the night before, and I tell you what, man. Let me just start off by saying the Puerto Rican crowd. I'm gonna look at you. If you're watching the video version, I'm looking right at you, Puerto Rican crowd. Thank you. You made that show so much more special. You all were alive and loud and fun all night on Friday Night SmackDown. You were into almost every single thing during Backlash, and having you be as vocal as you were and being into it as much as you were made the show that much more special. So hats off to the Puerto Rican crowd. You guys were absolutely amazing. Which leads us into the first match, which I had stepped away from the TV for a moment. The wife was sitting there watching, and it was so crazy she had to text me about a minute into this match because the crowd. The opening contest, by the way, was the WWE Raw Women's Championship match. Bianca Belair defending against Io Sky. And the crowd, excuse me, was totally behind Io Sky. There were so many Io chants, "Let's go Io." They cheered Io. They booed Bianca, which I've never seen. And by the look on her face and her reactions, I don't think Bianca had seen or expected anything like that. And, as they like to say, oh, we're living in the bizarro world if, you're watching something like that. We're in a bizarro world here. And the match was amazing. Io Sky is the type of opponent that Bianca Belair needs. Not taking anything away from any of Bianca's other opponents, but Io is a special type of performer. I loved her work in NXT and have been very, I don't want to say the word disappointed, but her run on the main roster has been lackluster to say the best, to say the least. So being able to see her in a marquee matchup, opening the pay-per-view against the Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair, and to put on the performance that they did was absolutely amazing. This match, to me, I'm giving it an A-. It was such a fun match. The only reason it's not an A+ is the finish. And oddly enough, a couple minutes earlier, the wife and I both said, man, we're glad they've kept Dakota and Bailey away. Well, of course, we jinxed it, so we apologize. Dakota and Bailey come down. God, I got like the yawns all of a sudden. I apologize. Dakota and Bailey come down, they get involved, and you can almost say that their interference cost Io Sky a shot at this match. The match was just so amazing. You know, Io is so good. You know, the high flyer Bianca so strong. The one-handed military press was absolutely amazing. The one-handed block of the top rope Hurricane Rana by Bianca was awesome. I know Io's dives and top rope stuff was just amazing. It was a non-stop match. The pace was, it just seemed like the action did not end. And it was an 18-minute match. The last 3 minutes when, you know, the rest of Damage Control came in and got involved was, again, a little, I wasn't a fan of it. I did not like the fact that they had them get involved. They could have stayed out and just let Io loose clean. But I'm guessing, and I guess we'll wait and see what happens on Raw this week, or SmackDown. No, Damage Control's on SmackDown, I believe. Yes, Damage Control's on SmackDown. See if this leads to the actual breakup, or, you know, furthers the story of the breakup potentially of Damage Control. Everybody thought they were going to get broken up in the draft, and they didn't. So I'm assuming they're going to play it out in storyline. So we'll see where it comes out, and you know, see how things play out. But I was a little disappointed with the finish, but overall, an absolute amazing match to start off the show. Again, I'm going to give it an A-. It was too good, even with the dumb finish, the interference at the end. But a great way to start off the show. And again, the crowd was just into it the entire time. Match numero dos. Seth freaking Rollins taking on Omos with MVP. The match went 10.5 minutes. And the best way I can describe this match is this match had no business being as good as it was. This match had no business being as good as it was, because it was actually a really great match. Even with someone like Omos, who at 7'3", you know, he has limited mobility. He's still, I'd say he's still fairly green. But man, Seth Rollins carried him to an amazing match. I'm going to give this match a B+. You know, it wasn't, you know, your 60-minute Broadway between Steamboat and Flair. But man, Seth got everything out of Omos. He got everything out of Omos. And I think if WWE can put Omos in the ring with guys like Seth, like ring generals, as you know, if you're watching the video, I'm doing the air quotes, but you know, the ring general, guy that can carry to a match, a Seth Rollins, you know, maybe a Kevin Owens, or you know, even a Sami Zayn, or like a Randy Orton. Somebody that's going to be able to carry him. I think Cody Rhodes could carry Omos to a good match. I mean, Brock did pretty good at WrestleMania. I thought their match was really good. The match went 10.5 minutes, which is about twice as long as I thought it would. You know, Omos mocked the crowd. The crowd was basically singing Seth's theme song throughout the majority of the 10.5 minutes. You know, Omos kicked out of a couple curb stomps. Seth tried to pedigree him from his, you know, Omos was on his knees and he tried to pedigree him on his knees, and then Omos back body dropped Seth from his knees. Really cool visual, but then Seth hits a top rope stomp onto Omos to pick up the win. I'm not surprised that Seth won here. It wouldn't surprise me if they gave Omos the win to, you know, maybe let him get something out of it. But, you know, Seth won. He's going to be in the World Heavyweight title tournament. It was, like I said, the best way I could describe the match. It had no business being as good as it was. But let me jump back a second because I've got the list of the agents for the matches. TJ Wilson, aka Tyson Kidd, did the Raw Women's Championship match. And kudos to Adam Pearce for producing this match. Did a great job. Again, Seth got everything he could out of Omos to give us an entertaining match. And the crowd was into it. The crowd was into Seth. They sang his theme song throughout the entirety of the match. Really fun match. Again, I'm going to give it a B+. I thought it was a solid match there at match 2. And then this is the first time where the crowd kind of sat on their hands a little bit. It's the triple threat match for the U.S. title. It only goes 6 minutes and 50 seconds, so it just goes under 7 minutes. I wish these guys would have gotten more time. I wish they'd have taken a couple minutes out of the Seth Omos match and given it to these guys. But it was a fun match. The wife's like, well, who's winning? And this is what I said. It's like, well, Bronson Reed is who I want to win. I would love to see Bronson Reed win, but he's on Raw, so he's not going to win. Now, then my other logic is, Bobby Lashley and Austin Theory are both on SmackDown. Lashley could be put right into a program with Roman Reigns to be his first challenger post, new rosters. So I don't see them having him win. So my money was on Austin Theory basically by default, and Theory did come out on top and won. This match was nice. Each man got, a little bit of time to shine, to kind of get their shit in, as they like to say. It was cool that comes to the finish. Lashley hit a spear on Bronson Reed, but Theory then jumped in and grabbed Lashley, threw him out of the ring, pinning Bronson Reed to retain. Kind of sneaky chicken shit heel finish. It did what it needed to do. Like I said, my guess is Lashley is going to go up against Roman, be one of Roman's first challengers. Kind of tired of him chasing the U.S. title now that both guys did it on Raw. Now they're both going to SmackDown starting this week. So I'm kind of hoping that both guys can move on. And of course, like I said, Austin Theory will be in the World Heavyweight title match. I'm going to give this match a B-, maybe a C+, B+, C-, kind of in that middle, just above middle. It was a good match. It was really short. I wish if they had more time, I think it'd have been a lot better. Speaking of short matches, but then again, this next match, I fully expected to be short, but again, they got everything out of it. Oh, by the way, the triple threat match was Abyss. So kudos to Abyss for doing what you could with the time that they were given, and kudos to the guys for doing what they did in the short amount of time. Match 3, Rhea Ripley defending the SmackDown Women's title against Zelina Vega. And again, this match had no business being as good as it was. Zelina Vega is not really known for her ability in the ring, and that's not a knock on her. It's that she is more known as a valet or a manager, and her skills on the microphone. She doesn't wrestle very often either. Like, I don't think she's had many singles matches. Let me look, because I'm curious, because I know there for a while someone said it could have been like a long time since she had a what are we doing here? WWE Backlash. Okay, I don't know why I can't get up the... Okay, so let's check this. Let's see. And of course I can't find it, so I'm gonna look it up by hand. Because I know Zelina Vega has not wrestled a lot. But I tell you what, man. She looked about as Roll Tide gets. She was smoking hot. I mean, so is Rhea Ripley. Let's just see here. So, Zelina had was in a 6-person tag on Raw. Had a match with Sonya Deville on the 28th of April. Before that, it was in a mixed tag on March 17th. Fatal 4-Way on February 3rd. The Royal Rumble. Then a match before that was January 8th. Oh, that's a live show. We're looking for TV matches here. December 2nd. So between the Rumble and December 2nd, she hadn't had a match. So I mean, she doesn't wrestle very often. She does, house shows and stuff, but she doesn't wrestle very often. But man, she looks smoking hot in her Puerto Rican flag themed attire. This match was done by Sean Davari. So shout out to Sean Davari for doing this. I love the match because it showed Zelina Vega. I don't think there's any point during the match where you're like, holy shit, she might win this. There was one point where the crowd was so into it. She was doing a little fiery comeback from underneath. And I'm like, are they going to call an audible and pull the trigger? Because the crowd, this is the loudest the crowd was all night. Up until this point, I should say. Of course, they were louder much later on. But, you know, they kind of did the stick and move thing, use her speed. She is so undersized compared to Rhea Ripley. Like, it's really hard to tell just how tiny she is until you see her next to Rhea Ripley. But Rhea was just so good in her role in the match. Again, this match didn't get a lot of time. They were only given 7 minutes and 10 seconds. Rhea picking up the win. You know, they kind of showed Zelina making this comeback. It looked like she might hit, you know, a couple big moves to try to come in and you pick up the win. But then Rhea was like, you know what, I'm done playing, hitting the Riptide for the win. And then after the match, Zelina, who was visually emotional throughout the entire match, especially at the beginning and especially at the end, the first time she's been able to wrestle in front of her home country, Puerto Rico. And you could just tell there was just this emotional release that she had at the end of the match. She got a standing ovation from the crowd. She performed absolutely amazing. Hats off to Zelina Vega for an awesome performance against Rhea Ripley. I'm going to give this match a B-. Again, this match had no business being as good as it was either, but it was an excellent match right there in the middle of the card. And then let's get into what I think was probably the best thing all night. The San Juan Street Fight. Damian Priest, Bad the Bunny. The match goes 25 minutes. This match was produced by Jamie Noble. So round of applause to Jamie Noble for putting together a really excellent match. Bad Bunny has proven, I think, in this match, I think the way it was set up, I think it was structured to highlight the fact that, you know, he's not a professional wrestler. Damian Priest did so well in this match. Now, I was a little disappointed he was left off of WrestleMania, but, you know, they kind of made up for it here, I feel, by giving him what was billed as a co-main event, even though it went third from top. This match should have closed the show. There is no doubt in my mind that this match should have closed the show. Now, Cody and Brock did end up closing the show, but this match to me should have closed the show. This was such a fun match. Of course, both men are from Puerto Rico. They both grew up, I want to say there's something on here where they both grew up in like the same small town. Let me see here. I want to say that's where it was. Dorado, and I don't remember what Michael Cole said. Michael Cole said they basically grew up in like the same small town or same small area. I mean, Puerto Rico's not that big. I've been to Puerto Rico, beautiful country. I'd love to go back. I love Puerto Rico. But this was such a good match, and I just want to say, whoever is working with Bad Bunny, whoever is training Bad Bunny, I'm gonna go and give credit to Jamie Noble here, and make sure I read the right one, Jamie Noble. Because there's something that I want to point out, I want to highlight about this match. Bad Bunny does not act like a professional wrestler. Bad Bunny does not sell like a professional wrestler. He sells like a fan, or in this case, a celebrity who is in the ring. The smallest move, and he sells like he got shot by a cannon. And I don't know who is teaching him this, you know, if it's Jamie Noble or someone else behind the scenes who's been training him or helping him, you know, preparing for this match. It's those little details, because every move that Bad Bunny did to Damian Priest barely sold it, because you have this much smaller man who's not a professional wrestler, who's not a professional athlete. He's a musician. Arguably the biggest musician in the entire world right now, the biggest artist in the entire world. Anything that Bad Bunny did to Damian Priest half-ass sold it, because that's how it would be. It'd be like, you know, an untrained athlete trying to box with Mike Tyson. Hey, you can hit Mike all you want, he ain't gonna flinch. And I think in the early stages of the match, it really kind of set the tone. And I really wanted to highlight that because, you know, the slightest knee or an elbow or forearm strike, Bad Bunny would go down. I mean, Damian Priest dwarfs Bad Bunny. And to me, it's smart, because even in the world of sports entertainment, even in the world of professional wrestling, we have to suspend your disbelief. The way Bad Bunny sold every move made it believable. It made you kind of lose yourself in that moment. It's like, man, that's just a forearm. You know, you see Damian Priest give that forearm to Santos Escobar, Rey Mysterio, and they don't go down, but Bad Bunny went down. I'm like, wow, like that's a good forearm shot. And it was just, it's those little things that just add that extra to a match. And I'll give credit to Jamie Noble, but whoever else unnamed who's been training Bad Bunny, hats off to you as well, because it was those little details that make it so good. Everything that Bunny would try, Priest had a counter for. And you know, it wasn't until the weapons got involved that Bad Bunny would get, you know, and it was smart, because anything that Bad Bunny did, he'd get a couple moves in, Priest would cut him off. Bad Bunny would get a little shine, Priest would cut him off. And then, you know, Bunny would sell those cutoffs like he got hit by like a ton of bricks. Like, it was great. Like, it's just, again, those little details, and I can't stress that enough. It's little details like that that made this match even more special for me. But let's fast forward to later on in the match, where Dominic Mysterio and Finn Balor come down. They attack Bad Bunny. Well, then here comes Rey Mysterio out to make the save, but he's still outnumbered. You know, the faces are outnumbered 3-2. And then we get the return of Carlito coming down to make the save to even up the odds. Dom and Finn still kind of gets advantage back, and just enough to escape. Carlito did spit an apple in Dominic's face, which I thought was amazing, which means Dom is not cool. Of course, Carlito spits in the face of people who don't want to be cool. Well, Finn and Dom are making their retreat until a man we saw earlier in the night, and I didn't mention it until just now, Savio Vega, another Puerto Rican WWE legend in the house, cutting off Finn and Dom. And then when Finn and Dom, it was a cool moment. Like, Savio's at the wearing an LWO shirt with his, you know, his typical Puerto Rican vest. You know, Finn and Dom are weighing out their options. They go back to the ring to fight Carlito and Rey, or do they go after Savio? Well, they start to move to Savio. Well, here comes the rest of the LWO. The LWO, Savio Vega, Carlito, Rey Mysterio, all beating up Dom and Finn Balor, sending them out of the way, which allowed, you know, Bad Bunny and Damian Priest to kind of recover. Like, there's a match going on during all this, but it was such a huge moment. When Carlito came out, the crowd exploded. When Savio Vega came out, the crowd totally exploded. This is the loudest the crowd was all night. The match ends up coming to a close when Bad Bunny hits a Canadian Destroyer, the Bunny Destroyer, however you want to call it, picking up the pin. The match goes 25 minutes even. This is an A+. This match should have closed Backlash. Again, hats off to Jamie Noble for setting up an amazing match, and hats off to Damian Priest and Bad Bunny for putting on an excellent performance. A+ match of the night by far. This match should have closed. Post-match, we get all of the Latinos, the LWO, Carlito, Savio Vega, come down to the ring, and they offer an LWO shirt to Bad Bunny. So, of course, Bad Bunny accepts, joins the LWO, so to speak, and then we go to break there. But, man, such a fun match. The crowd was hot the entire time. They were loud, they were vocal, they were chants. It was so fun. I would watch. If you have not seen Backlash, go out of your way to watch that match at least. that match, as they say, is worth the price of admission. A lot of fun. In the penultimate match, we get the 6-man tag, the Bloodline, Jimmy and Jay and Brother Solo Sikoa taking on Matt Riddle and the WWE Undisputed Tag Champions, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. And again, they were smart. Riddle came out, his music didn't come all the way to the ring. KO came out, didn't go all the way to the ring. The babyfaces walked to the ring to Sami Zayn's music, and the crowd was singing along. And as soon as the music stopped, we got the big ole 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 chant, which I thought was great. This was the cool down match for the main event. And in 2023, if you'd have told me that a Bloodline centric match would be the cool down match for a main event, I'd have told you you're nuts. But the crowd was still pretty hot early on, and they were hot at the end. But at times during the middle of the match, they kind of cooled off a little bit. The match itself was okay. I'd give this match like a B-. The story of the match, it was more of the Solo versus the Usos. Of course, Solo doing the bidding of Uncle Roman, trying to get the Usos to quote unquote pull their weight. So the story was more between inner turmoil of the Bloodline than it was Riddle, KO, and Sami versus the Bloodline. And to me, that took away from it a little bit. I think the Bloodline versus KO and Sami has run its course. I think going forward, we're going to see more inner turmoil amongst the Bloodline. That's going to be the story going forward. Not outside forces trying to destroy the Bloodline, but more of the inner turmoil of the Bloodline. But we'll see how that plays out over the next few weeks. Jason Jordan was the producer for this match. And again, it was a fun match. Nothing wrong with it. It goes 22 minutes. It went a long time. Some blind tags there at the end allowed Solo to hit the Samoan Spike on Matt Riddle, picking up the win. And then after the match, it was trying to get all three of the Usos and Solo to be on the same page. So we'll see what happens on Friday's SmackDown, because we have been confirmed that Roman will be on SmackDown this Friday. So it'd be good to see him back. Now let's get to the main event. Let's get to the main event. Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, taking on the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar. This match was put together by Michael P.S. Doot Hayes. Now, one thing I noticed about this match was the ending. We're going to fast forward to the end. The match goes 9 minutes, 40 seconds. Cody picks up the win via pinfall. I was questioning whether or not this match was called short because of what happened during it. It started off hot. The crowd singing the "Whoa" in Cody's theme song was just blowing the roof off every time. So again, hats off to the Puerto Rican crowd. You guys were on par with WrestleMania, maybe even better than WrestleMania crowd at times, way better than the Raw After Mania crowd, which is usually where you see these kind of crowds. And I just want to say real quick before I go back into this match, USA crowds, USA fans, take note. The bar has been set by San Juan, Puerto Rico on how, you want to act. And I think, and I'll just go off a slight little tangent here. I think that's because, they were just so appreciative of having the WWE pay-per-view, the premium live event there. The last one I think was in like 05 or 07. The first time they had been there, New Year's Revolution 05. So it was 05. So 18 years since they've had a premium live event / pay-per-view. So it's nice to see the crowd so appreciative and so vocal all night long. And again, they were pretty loud here. Like, they were cheering Brock. They weren't necessarily booing Cody, but they were cheering Brock. Like, lots of Suplex City chants. Brock hitting 8 variations of Germans and belly to bellies and side suplexes and regular suplexes. So a lot of suplexes. Cody jump started the match diving outside the ring onto Brock. I was kind of wondering how we were going to get it going. At one point during a German suplex, Cody reached up. Brock grabs Cody from behind. Cody reaches out and grabs the turnbuckle, I guess, to try to stop it, and ended up pulling the turnbuckle pad off, launching it into the crowd as he took the German. So someone got a nice souvenir of a WWE turnbuckle pad. And of course, as soon as that happened, I looked at the wife and I said, that's going to come into play here soon. And it did. Cody moving, sidestepping a charge from Brock, hits the drop toe hold. Brock, man, God bless Brock Lesnar, head first, the hard way, right into the turnbuckle, busting himself open, which apparently was all according to plan. That was all according to plan. There was no blade that I noticed. If Brock bladed, he braided before charging Cody and did it seamlessly, because I couldn't tell. My guess is Brock did it the hard way. He's just like, I'm just going to headbutt this fucking turnbuckle as hard as I can. He was gushing blood. His face was a crimson mass. Cody's wiping Brock's blood all over him. There's blood all over the canvas. I mean, you're in Puerto Rico. You need some blood. I was honestly surprised that, WWE allowed that much blood to happen, but man, there was a lot of blood. At one point, the ref had a towel that he was going to hand to Brock, and then he kind of just kicked it out of the ring. Like, yeah, I'm not going to hand this towel to Brock Lesnar. He's going to fucking murder me if I do it. Cody hitting a couple crossroads for a kick out. Cody kicked out of an F5. The third crossroads reversed into an F5. So it was nice to see, unlimited finishers on there at certain points of the match. Brock ended up locking a Kimura lock onto Cody. And then Cody smartly just kind of pushed forward, rolling Brock back onto his shoulders. And Brock didn't release the hold in time. And the ref kind of 1, 2, 3. Cody with the upset win, ? And then Cody quickly got out of dodge, out of the ring, went down the ramp. Brock just kind of sitting there in the ring, and eventually the ref tossed in the towel. Brock wiped his face off. So, but again, according to Frightful Select, that was all part of the plan. That was not off script. Brock was set to bust open and bleed, and I mean that's how you bleed, man. That was good. Yeah, I'd give this, I guess, the 6-man tag match again. I think I give it a B-. This, I'm gonna give this just a solid B. Give this a solid B. I think the San Juan Street fight should have closed the show. I think it would have been a lot better going out that way than with this. But I guess, Cody's still working on finishing the story, and I guess we'll see how that plays out. Again, he'll be part of the World Heavyweight Championship tournament this week on Raw. But overall, man, I give this an A. This was such a fun show, such a fun card, top to bottom. Again, the wife and I were thoroughly sports entertained throughout the entire night. I mean, to me, the highlights, Bad Bunny and Damian Priest was excellent. Match of the night. Seth and Omos and then Rhea and Zelina had no business being as good as they were. Bianca and Io tore the house down opening the show. The triple threat, again, I wish would have had a little more time. I think it could have used for another 3 to 4 minutes. And then the bloodline, again, it was more about the inner turmoil of the bloodline than the match itself, which is fine. It advances the story, which is important. It doesn't stagnate. It advances the story to the next step, which we'll see what things play out this week on SmackDown this coming Friday. But guys, that's my Backlash review. A solid show, a solid card, top to bottom. Up next, as far as premium live events, Night of Champions from the Jeddah Superdome in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia in 3 short weeks. May 27th, so right at the start of Memorial Day weekend, the WWE is going to Jeddah for some dirty Saudi blood money. I think this is Dirty Saudi Blood Money 6. I'm going to double check. I think the last one we did was 5. I think this is going to be 6. And the only thing we know for it is the finals of the World Heavyweight Championship tournament. And I'm sure we'll get plenty of other matches in the next 3 weeks. But there's not a lot of time to set up some matches. Of course, there's a lot of people that won't go. Like KO and Sammy won't go because Sammy obviously can't go. Some other people that just haven't gone in the past. I'm just wondering if WWE is going to break out some of the older relics for this one. Goldberg is a free agent, so they can't call Goldberg. Taker's retired, which I guess doesn't mean much. And then after Night of Champions, it's July 1st, so there's no Premium Live event in June. There's 2 in May, none in June, and then July 1st at the O2 Arena in London, England, Money in the Bank. And then after that, we get to August 5th, Ford Field for SummerSlam, going to the big stadium, Ford Field. So a lot of cool Premium Live events coming up throughout the summer of 2023. And in there also is NXT Battleground, May 28th, from Lowell, Mass, Carmella Hayes and Braun Breaker for the NXT Championship. Then we're going to crown a new women's NXT champion, Indy Hartwell, relinquishing the title this past week on NXT, which the wife and I watched a little bit of. And it was nice to see her send off with Dexter Lumis coming out. So Index is back together. They are both on Raw, along with Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano. So we might see some NXT story carry over with The Way and Index. Be really interesting to see. The question I have for you as I close the show: how long until this roster split, this draft brand extension, whatever the fuck they're calling it, before the rosters start mixing again? I give it, I honestly want to say I'd give it till the end of Monday Night Raw, but you know, there are some free agents. But again, I've got a full roster breakdown, heels, faces, you know, some potential feuds coming up. That video is going to drop later this week on the YouTube channel. But before I go, again, let's just check out some of the social media. The best way to support the podcast is to follow on social media, share the post, all that good stuff. We'll be back here in just a quick moment while we plug a few things here at the end, social media. So we'll be back here to wrap things up on this week's edition of the podcast. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Myself here for a quick moment. First off, thank you for checking out Wrestling with Fans here on YouTube. If you're enjoying what you see, make sure to leave a big old thumbs up and click that subscribe button down below. The other ways you can help support the show is to follow us across all of our other social medias. Check us out, facebook.com/Wrestling with Fans. Hulk smash that like button to keep up to date with everything going on here with Wrestling with Fans. Or you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Wrestling with Fans. Check us out on the web at WrestlingWithFans.com. New audio shows go up every single Sunday at midnight. Or you can take us on the go, download us to your favorite podcast, the listening device. You can get us wherever you get your podcast fix. Just search Wrestling with Fans Podcast. We are on all the major platforms: Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher. Wherever you get your podcast fix, you can find Wrestling with Fans. Last but certainly not least, comments, questions, feedback, topics you want covered on the show, shoot me an email, wwfshow@gmail.com. Again, that's wwfshow@gmail.com. Links to everything are down in the video description and down below, so make sure you check that out. Without further ado, back to the show. All right, coming in here one final time before we wrap things up. Again, highly recommend checking out Backlash. If nothing else, check out the San Juan Street fight. Such a fun match. Again, the best way to support us is to follow us across social medias. Links, again, are everything in the video description, or they're in the show notes if you're listening to this in audio form. Again, thank you to everyone who has been on this journey with me over the last 5+ years now. And I look forward to the next 5. But we'll see you next week. I don't know what I'm going to do, but again, later this week we'll get the roster breakdown video dropped out to you guys. I still need to finish my Survivor season from the 5-year special, the 5-year anniversary show of the podcast, but we'll get that out soon enough. But until next time, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Once again, my name is Kyle, and I'll see you next time right here on Wrestling with Fans.